just want to make sure nobody's saying anything they shouldn't.
Let's do fireworks last week, or last week.
All righty.
It was not
Who's Mayor Pro Tem?
I think it is Carolyn, actually.
Yeah, was it Kim?
Who's the Pro Tempore Tem?
There's a lot we can do about it. Mary, Mary, where you going to? Come on. Join together with the band. You what?
A few things I can say. Anyway.
just a tad younger, right?
Just a tad.
You're a young one in your class, right?
He just turned, what, 61?
61, just turned
61, yeah.
older today than I've ever been.
It always is.
I told you, someone says, you want to see a picture of me when I was younger? I said, aren't all pictures of you when you were younger?
That's what I say too.
Hi, Carolyn. Madam Mayor? Oh, yes. Yes. My mind is still there. Oh, fine. It's good to see you. Great. Okay, what is this?
How are you? Good to see you as well.
Is Jeff going to be here tonight?
Yeah, I guess. We don't know. There he is. Yay. I'm just pulling it up.
Traffic was a little heavier.
Believe it. It's really gotten thick lately. Have you noticed? Traffic's really picking up.
GTA doing about that?
Well, I was riding transit, so the only traffic was on State Street, so.
It's been nuts, man.
We good to go?
Yes, it is.
Adam, we all fired up?
We're going to see Jake tonight. Is he excused?
He's excused. He's
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with an invocation by Carolyn, and then Lincoln, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Sure. If you come to our meetings, I'm going to invite you to do things, so.
Somebody has to be here to make you feel that someone cared.
That's right.
That's right. Feeling the love. Thank you. Our dear Father in heaven, as we gather this evening, we first and foremost want to give thee gratitude and thanks for the many great blessings that we enjoy as individuals and also as families and members of this community. We're so thankful for the many great hands, small and behind the scenes, that do much to protect us and to keep us safe and to make our everyday lives run smoothly, in the staff and those that serve. We are thankful for those that have done many great things throughout the community as well, to try to serve one another and to be involved and participate in helping make the decisions going forward. We ask thee to bless this meeting this evening, to have thy spirit here and all that we do and say and discuss. And we again ask thee to help us with the discernment to set aside those things that would make us think with a personal view, but more of a view of our fellow brethren. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Repeat with me the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lincoln, and keep coming. Okay, let's go ahead and do a roll call. Do you want to start us off?
Sure. Mike Ventura, present.
Randy Powell, present.
Person present?
Carolyn Lundberg, present.
Van Broderick, present.
And I believe Jake's excused this evening, so let's go ahead and address the minutes of the November 1st, 2021 meeting. If there are additions, corrections, now would be the time to let Kathy know.
Well, not having been here, I will respectfully
abstain from.
I have no adjustments.
I have nothing.
Do you have anything, Carolyn?
There was just some minor grammatical, nothing factual, just really quickly on the council reports, but I'll just get with Kathy on that. It was just
Okay.
grammar.
I'll make a motion then to approve the minutes of what is it?
November 1st.
I'm sorry, 2021.
Okay, a motion by Randy, second by Van. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
It was passed unanimously. Thank you. So, let's see. My favorite place in Lindon, photo contest winners.
Mary Barnes, our planner, will
All
introduce
right.
and go through this with you, so.
Excuse me.
No worries.
Yeah, good
Dance
dance.
with
I'm
it.
sorry.
It reminds Mike of the
I tossed
Virgin
my phone
Islands.
in and it's gone in my
Right.
hidden pocket.
That
Silence
music.
that right away.
Executive privilege, Carolyn.
There we go.
Awesome. All right.
Thank you.
So each fall, the American Planning Association designates October as National Community Planning Month. So Lindon City Planning Department, just me and Mike, we decided to hold a photo contest to celebrate Planning Month, and the theme was my favorite place in Lindon. So we wanted to highlight the places in Lindon that mean a lot to the community and the values that Lindon has, like that little bit of country, right? And after getting about 20 or so submissions, the staff and elected and appointed officials voted on the 3 contest winners, and they are, well, you can see them on the screen, but we also have 2 of them in attendance.
No, Alice is here now.
And Alice, sorry, all 3 in attendance. And I'd like to give some time. I know, could you come and stand up and show us your pictures? That would be lovely. Yeah, so this is Laurie. She submitted this beautiful picture that's Timpanogos in fall. Really beautiful. Jerry submitted this picture of a red barn, and it's just gorgeous. I think it really encapsulates the, city motto. And then Alice with her beautiful Murdoch Trail. And I think Jerry would like to say a few words about his picture. If you'd like to.
So I just wanted to clarify, when the theme was my favorite place in Lindon, this is actually my wife's favorite place in Lindon. So we've lived here for 10 years, and we just live a mile from here. This picture was taken on Main Street and 600 North, and this is actually part of Wadley Farms. And so as we drive down Main Street, my wife was able to see the top of this red barn with all the beautiful trees around it and the mountains in the background, and she thought that was one of the most gorgeous sights that she had ever seen. Every year, at least 5 or 6, 7 times, she would remind me how this was her favorite view in Lindon. So for Christmas last year, I decided I got with one of our commercial drone photographers that we use in our construction business, and so we went down at 600 North in Main, put the drone up in the air. She let me do the controls, and I was able to manipulate the camera, and so I was able to take this picture. And so this was my wife's Christmas present this past year. So
where's your
one of our
favorite
favorite
place?
spots. What's that?
Where's your favorite place then, if this is your wife's and not yours?
Actually, my favorite place in Lindon is the aquatic pool on Saturday morning with my grandkids.
Which is perfect, because one of their prizes is a punch pass to the pool. Right? And Lori and Alice, would you guys like to say anything, or are you okay?
I just love Mount Timpanogos. I love living at the base of that. And I was driving carpool around one morning, and the leaves were so striking. I was like, I gotta pull over. And I pulled over around the car and snapped the picture and went home and saw that it was the photo competition, and I already submitted it. So I just love it.
And this was just from your phone?
Yes.
There's hope for all of us then.
Right. And Alice, would you like to say anything?
So this is the sunrise. During COVID, I was working to lose some of my baby weight, and I took up running. I've never really been a runner, and I love how the Murdoch Trail is a safe place for me to run, in the dark, so I don't get run over by a car or something. And me and my sister-in-law would go running, and often we'd watch the sunrise. So just on my phone.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. It's really beautiful. And I'll just go over in appreciation, we have only a small gift. It's crumble cookie, gift card, and a punch pass for the pool. Plus, we'll be hanging up these pictures in the community development department. So whenever you like to see them again, please come visit us. They are just beautiful. And that's all. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Mayor, I was going to take a picture of my favorite place, but then I realized that Del Taco was in Orem.
Okay. Let's go ahead and start with council reports. Van, you want to start us off?
Yes, you bet. I'd be happy to. So,
Keep taking pictures.
So on November 4th, we continued with our Central Utah Water Conservancy district meetings with the Provo Bench and North Union Canal. We received our water loss study. Adam, did you get a copy of that? Have you seen that?
I don't think I've seen the final.
Juan has it, and I think Noah has it, but it's safe to say that there's significant water loss in areas, the ability to measure water is still a little bit of a challenge, so, but there's significant, that's what I'll put that at. Our next meeting for that will be December 9th at 8 a.m. with the Central Utah Water. Again, and I'll let Randy talk about it, but I was a guest visitor at the engineering meeting that the mayor was at via Zoom as well.
Yep. Well, thank you.
All right. Really quickly, today there was a chamber meeting at UVU. We were able to take a tour of the new business school that's under construction there. And they shared with different business leaders in the community the entrepreneur programs there, and looking for people in the community to partner with them to be mentors and help students who have different business ideas. So anyone out there, if they would like to help with that, get in touch with UVU, and I have their contact. On Veterans Day last Thursday, there were a lot of really special events just highlighting those that have and are currently serving. Lindon Elementary had a flag raising and had a moment of silence, as well as a veteran speak. It was a great little moment to teach the youth there. And in addition, I don't know if you all noticed, but Orem City is revisiting their State Street Master Plan, and they are holding a couple open houses. One is tonight at this time, and then I saw there's another one Thursday evening, looking for feedback from the public on that. So that's something you can probably look up. I don't know if staff has more information on that potentially. But that will affect Lindon somewhat as far as, some of the transportation plan, but I think they're speaking more to revamping the housing nodes that have been up for discussion again from that adopted plan from 2015. And then also had the privilege to attend a couple of ribbon cuttings of some new businesses. Our apiary fund here that is a tenant of our old city offices was awarded the Business and Excellence Award by our Chamber of Commerce. And then there was a ribbon cutting for AIHI, which is integrative health business, just over the boundary here with PG. So both really great businesses coming into the community. And that's all I have for now.
Okay, thank you. Randy?
Thank you, Mayor. Apologize, it's going to take just a few minutes. I did attend with Van and the mayor, the Public Works and Engineering meeting. Lots of good things going on as usual, great staff. One of the things I'll bring to your attention that probably could use some input would be that our safe routes to school is, we've been able to acquire over this last little bit, $75,000 in grants. And then in the year of 2022, they're going to be working on improving the safe route from along 400 East from 600 North to Center Street. So we're looking forward to that. But why I'm bringing it to your attention is actually Noah suggested that we be looking for additional places where safe routes to schools needs to be improved, and they can then apply for a grant based on that,
Right.
that location. So kind of being on the lookout for a place that maybe we could do that for our citizen safety. We talked about SCADAS is about 80%, the SCADA, sorry, and our 80% completed. And our cemetery is at 35% occupancy with 70% sold. So we get new residents, long-term residents all the time, unfortunately, but our cemetery is growing in a good way, and I'm grateful for all the work that our Public Works do in keeping that under in a good situation. I have been asked to, along with Carolyn, to look at the education grants. Rebecca was kind enough and sent them in a zip drive, but I could not unzip the zip drive. So I just received the hard copies tonight, so I will be continuing looking at those. And the little spreadsheet had some really wonderful opportunities for the city to use our funds to be able to help in small little grants. I'm sure you've looked at many of them, Carolyn, and some wonderful opportunities for us. And I'm sure we'll report back on that at a later time.
Yes, and they appreciate very much the council approving a little bump in that.
Yep.
To get
That was
more out to our schools.
Nice opportunity for that to happen. On a fun note is 2 weeks from today is our kickoff for what we're calling it's the most wonderful time of the year. And so this event will be a place where the council has appropriated some monies for us to be able to kick off and do some lighting in the city. On that night, I encourage all of the elected officials that can to attend that. I believe it's a 6 o'clock kickoff. You'll have a formal invitation that'll be sent from Park and Rec. At that event, we've been able to secure a $500 sponsorship donation by Low Book Sales. They've been generous enough to do this to help we've acquired Yahash Bonner to come and sing for us. And I don't know if you know him, he's a member of the Bonner family. He's going to come and sing. It's the most wonderful time of the year for us. He's also he is the lead in the movie My Name is Green Flake. And it's a wonderful opportunity for us to kick this off and bring people a little bit of joy and happiness at that time of the year. This kickoff is to highlight 5 events in the city for Christmas time. That would be Light the Night, which is that, and it's just a quick little program that night. But and then the next week will be the historical committee's historical tree lighting ceremony. That is the one that's always traditionally held at the community center, where the old brick red church is now our community center. Also, the other 3 events are the Santa Parade, and which I just went down and peeked at it. Alan has been working hard on it. It is adorable that they have transferred the Little Miss Lindon float into now a Santa Parade float. That will happen that next following week. And then the Santa Extravaganza, which will be some pastries and whatnot with Santa. And then the last one is an ongoing activity, which is Santa's Letters to Santa. And all of this will be highlighted at that evening, the kickoff evening on 2 weeks from tonight. And all that information can be had at our Lindon City Park and Recs information page. On not so fun of a note, I guess wanted to say, I'm sure we've all received information, and I've talked to staff about this, about the accident that happened a week ago Sunday down in the Ivories off of I-15. Just major concerns, I know, by a lot of us. Just wanting to promote the fact that hopefully we can unite our voices as elected officials and asking UDOT to get at least some temporary protection for that section of the road, and we're hoping maybe we could have a little discussion about that at some point in the very near future. I don't know, I asked council about, and Mayor, have you had any thoughts, feelings, outreach from neighbors or from residents?
I've had a couple of emails, and I spoke with Adam today, and I know they have some really good ideas about what probably could happen and should happen. So I believe that, Adam, I don't know if you have anything else to report, but I think we're making progress towards at least getting some barriers there, even if they're temporary.
Noah and I spoke with one of the staff engineers from UDOT on Thursday, and he's been contacted, UDOT's been contacted on Thursday, and he's been contacted, UDOT's been contacted by both Ivory Homes and some of the residents, and so they're exploring some options. They'll be coordinating with us on what those are. And so, but the hope is I think it's about a 4-foot concrete retaining barrier that is within the right-of-way of UDOT. And then we would then be looking at some sort of fencing around the park area and the sewer lift station as well, so.
One thing I appreciate about what Adam shared with me is that I think we've made it known, both Ivory and the city, that we don't feel like it's our responsibility to have to pay for any remedies in that section right there, that it's something, maybe UDOT should have done prior to this. But.
And I know that we had a presentation by by UDOT a bit ago, and I remember asking them at that time when that wall would go up, assuming that it was going to go up. Oh, silly, naive little me. And I remember the quote, or at least the paraphrase, what he said is that it's the erection of this protection would be based on incident. Well, we've had our incident, and I would say that needs to now be put up, because what would happen, and speaking with staff, starting with the next day and continuing to tonight, is that if that would have been a few feet either direction, it could have been catastrophically worse. If it had been a few feet earlier, it would have taken out our pump station, or a lift station number 7. And that, for the public to know, that is, from what I understand, it takes 1/3 of the sewer for Lindon. Can you imagine asking our residents, boilers are one thing, but what do you do with our waste? How do we handle that? And so for UDOT to not leave us that vulnerable gets my dander up. I'm unhappy that we're having to wait for an incident. And then if it had been another few feet further, it would have hit into a building more so. Even though there's a wall there, it's not a protective barrier. That's just basic fencing around that Ivory has put up so that there's some sort of a yard for that. But it's not a UDOT protection, in my opinion. So this is just what I'm feeling right now, that it's our citizens along that area are vulnerable. If this had happened another time of day and in another season when the park was in, we just don't know what would have happened. And we're just sitting here now vulnerable. So in speaking with staff, I just feel like if there's something that we as elected officials can do to help support our staff as they try to drive this issue forward, I think it's something that really behooves our citizens. So that's my thoughts. I guess I did not look to see, I apologize, Adam, are you going to be talking about our new staff members at all?
Not until they start.
Okay, we'll wait. Well, we do have, maybe you've talked about Jessica before, who's started with Brittany in the courts.
She's been there a couple months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I get for not always being around. And then Holy Cow starts this week. Yay. Okay.
Great.
Question regarding Randy's mention on the long-term transportation plan. Is there, I remember Ivory had some questions of if there will ever be a frontage, with the on-offs that are going to be kind of the strategy going forward throughout the valley.
So that is a conceptual plan that UDOT has prioritized the environmental study on. So it's at that phase. It would be a few years away. I would say in the three to 5 plus.
Because that's what I
that
recall
could
is
be
the
done.
reason why they did not construct a
That was-
masonry wall yet.
That was
Is that correct?
part of it. But that's a long ways off. There's a lot that could be done in the interim. So.
Right, exactly. Okay.
True. Okay, Mike? Thank you. We had our North Point's Special Services Solid Waste District meeting this morning, and we adopted our 2022 budget. We will finish 2021 with a healthy fund reserve. We were profitable. Nothing changed in terms of tipping fees. For the city, it's still going to be the $30.50 a ton. For the public, nothing really changed. the big need right now is getting people to work. We adopted a revised pay schedule to attract people who are leaving. Other entities are offering them $5 to $6 more an hour than what they're making at our place, and I can't say you can really blame them for doing something like that. So we're making every effort to be competitive. And again, it's well-run. Mr. Schwindeman, who came up from Washington County, is doing a marvelous job, doing a fantastic job. So also, if you recall, some months ago, we talked about the program for recycling, monitoring recycling. Okay, apparently that's been worked out, and I've got an email from the gentleman who would make that presentation. I'm thinking that initially, perhaps you and I, Adam, should meet with him and see if it's something that we're interested in doing.
It's the Recycle Coach
Yes.
app, okay.
Yeah, so that'd be great. I just can't say enough positive about I guess I've seen the city newsletter for going on 5 years now, and I've always thought it was good, but boy, for some reason, this one that we had, excluding the message, which I wrote, but just the graphics are just spectacular, the thought that's put into it. And I'm gonna be honest, I got downright giddy when I saw all of those Santa. I thought about writing a letter to Santa myself.
They answer each and every one of those.
That's what I know, and I plan on having my grandchildren participate in some of those, and just whoever is, I think Kathy, are you ultimately responsible for that? Kudos, it's fantastic, it really is. Yeah, my hope is that we can get it out to as many people as we possibly can, so. I've been privileged to attend development review committee meetings on Mondays typically. We had one this last Friday, and I'm not sure it'd be appropriate to say who, but the triangular piece, just kitty corner from Walmart, that we've been wondering what's gonna happen with that piece. There is some interest on that piece, and
Behind Taco Bell?
someone made, no, it wouldn't be a Taco Bell.
No, it's behind Taco Bell.
Oh, behind Taco,
Yeah, sorry.
yes, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, we don't need another one of those.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need another Taco Bell? So it seems like a feasible plan. The engineers and Mike and Mary and myself talked. My big contribution was, after listening, was just the important thing is gonna be aesthetics. Obviously it has to meet the commercial design standards, but it seems to me that if this comes to fruition, they're very amenable to making it extremely attractive and not only meeting, but perhaps surpassing our standards. So that's good. We've often wondered what that piece, they're working with Walmart right now. Walmart has some exclusions in their CC&Rs as to certain things that can and can't go in there. But they think they've worked around that. So that's exciting. And then most of the other projects we're aware of, a lot of them you've actually approved. We've actually approved, or the planning commission has. My only question now is, do you know when Low Book Sales is any idea when they're gonna start? Mike?
Expand.
We have all of our reviews, or we've sent them all of our reviews and everything, we're just waiting to hear back from them.
Okay, great, thank you. I believe that's all I have, Mayor, thank you.
Okay,
One last thing, Mayor. if I
go
can.
ahead.
I just want to say thank you to Adam. I brought up asking to have our staff reports put onto the YouTube description, sorry. And so for both Planning Commission and for our city council meetings, anybody that's watching right now, all three of you, but anybody who's watching, you can always click on there, and that'll take you right to our staff packets, and you can see what we see. So thank you so much.
Great. And one more quick thing, may I invite Chief Brower? I forgot to mention, November 4th, I was able to observe and attend a really great event he held at Oak Canyon Junior High with all of the schools in Lindon, if he wants to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, just real briefly, Kelly Johnson deserves credit for that. She coordinated with Alpine School District and Oak Canyon Junior High to host a bomb search and suspicious package training, which several of the schools, most of the schools here in Lindon Elementary charter schools had administrators in attendance, and some of them throughout the county. So we had a little bomb dog presentation and just what we would do and what our response would be on a suspicious package or a potential explosive in a school. So went well. Kelly did all that work. I didn't do much.
Thank you.
Anything else, council?
No, sorry about that.
Okay, Adam?
Just a reminder, our next meeting, December 6th, starts at 7:30 after the historic tree lighting, so. And then the fall cleanup's going on right now, dumpsters around town. And a reminder, the Mayor's Thanksgiving Day dinner, 11 to 2 p.m. on the 25th at the community center. And then just an FYI, I've had a couple citizen inquiries. The oath of office ceremony for newly elected officials is January 3rd of next year. And we would also be with a new mayor, swearing in 4 positions that are appointed at the state. By the state, it requires that we swear those in: the city engineer, attorney, recorder, and treasurer. And then just an update on the secondary water and metering grant. Division of Water Resources did get back to us, and they are supportive of waiting until after the 2022 legislative session to see if there's any changes on that timelines to put in meters before the city commits to any contracts. And then they did tell us that if we accept those funds from the division, it has to be spent by June 30th of 2023. And then our federal funds that we are looking to use for a match has to be spent by June of 2024. And so just an FYI on those items, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'm glad we have a little bit of time. I'm sure that'll help us interact with the public and have some good open discussion and decide what the best way forward is, so. Open session, anyone here to address the council on an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, we'll go ahead and move forward then. Item number 8 is review and action, major subdivision, South Haven Development, 531 North State.
All right, good evening, Mayor and council members. It's great to be here with you. So on October 26th, the Planning Commission granted site plan and conditional use permit for the Tilia Court Townhome Development. That's a 58-unit townhome development behind Lindon Nursery. You're familiar with this. You approved it in November, the zone change on November 16th, 2020. So I'm going to go through the presentation real quick just so you're familiar with it, just hit some of the highlights. But tonight you're reviewing this major subdivision approval for the 58-unit development. I'm going to go to the site plan real quick. So I want to talk about parking first. You can see the layout of the development. So it's 58 units. The parking ordinance parking requirement for this is 2 units two parking stalls per unit, and then half a stall per visitor parking. So there's 58 units. Of those, we've got 38 2-car garage units and 20 1-car garage units, and so that requires 116 parking spaces. For visitor, there's a half a space per unit that's required. That would require 29. If you count the driveways, and then there's 22 visitor parking stalls around the perimeter as well. You can see those highlighted on the site plan. Now,
While you're right there, sorry to interrupt, counting 7 of the driveways to meet the guest parking, how did that work?
Yeah, so our city ordinance allows us to count 50% of the visitor parking. So there's 29 that's required. It allows you to count 50% of those, so basically 14 on the you can count the driveways as part of those. So Mr. Southard is only counting 7 of the driveways into that. So that meets that. So you've got a total with the garages, the driveways, the visitor parking on the perimeter there. You've got a total of 214 parking spaces for those 58 units. So let me talk about traffic circulation. So you got State Street here on the east side of the plan up here, 475 north. So all the streets are public streets. The asphalt width is 29 feet. That's the same asphalt width that we used down at Ivory Homes for most of the single-family home developments down there. And so, all these streets are public, except for, let me go to this picture. This shows it a little bit. This one shows it better. So from this point right here, this street, it'll still meet the public width requirements, but this will be a private access. It's a private access because there's an existing easement. This is State Street here. There's an existing easement that was between the Platts and Dastrup Auto that's highlighted there in red. The South Haven Homes and Mr. Dastrup could not come up with an agreement to make that a public street. And so what they're doing is keeping the red in an easement. Mr. Southard will add what's in the green to still have that full 29-foot asphalt width. Actually, it's the 33-foot public right-of-way width. So to keep that here, and then this section will be private. So this will be maintained by the homeowners association, where in the private access point there. So they did work on that. They were close to an agreement, but that fell apart to make that public. But and so this is the plan right now, so that all the streets would be public except for this section here. Any questions on that? Okay.
What do we do? What do we do when the citizens come back to the city and say that's not being kept up to the degree that the city street is?
You mentioned it's a private street. and
We say it's a private street.
I hope that in some point that there may be some agreement and they come back and dedicate that to the city. So that's why Mr. Southard is building his to the public street standard, that private street section, but that's the hope, so.
And is there any direction on the maintenance of that road up to some point in time when it does become an official public street? I mean, do we have any agreement or understanding of what they will do?
No, it's treated just like a private road, as it, like down in Ivory and those different places that we have those private roads. It's treated that same way, so.
Okay.
So it's being built to the same standards, same thickness, same everything else, so hopefully in the future that can work out, but.
So which
yes.
portion of that, sorry, is Dastrup's and in this private section? Is it north and south? Is it a division between that and?
So the red, the red outlines that area.
So it's just that one to the more the east?
Yeah, so that'll have to be maintained between the Lindon Nursery and Dastrup Auto.
But as you go further to the left there, that is all within, but it's still being called a private access, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, so the red is Dastrup, the green is what South Haven will be providing an easement for, and then the private access will be maintained by the HOA.
So this is a silly question. So why doesn't the public street go to the point where then it becomes a disputed matter?
It's for our access and our maintenance.
Okay.
It's easier to keep it at that bend than to
Okay.
come down and have to come around and like that.
That was a good answer for a silly question.
And if you'll note, the easement kind of goes back and forth between the properties.
Okay.
The red is the easement, but you see that boundary line. Part of the easement's on the trust property, part of it's on Dastrup, and it kind of goes back and forth a little
With that
bit.
zigzag then?
Yeah, that
Yes.
zigzag.
But that in no way, the fact that it's private in no way limits tenants from ingress, egress, nor visitors or anything like that, so is that correct?
Yes, the easement that's recorded against the property is an ingress egress easement without express restrictions on that. So
Okay,
as I reviewed that and looked at that easement, I feel that it fits that way. There might be some dispute from Dastrip, but we'll let them take that up with the court if they decide to do that.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. The triangular piece there, as the private access road elbows, what is the intention of that space there? Is that going to be utilized by Lindon Nursery, or is it just?
So that was one of the
space?
conditions of the planning commission, that this be incorporated into the townhome development,
Okay.
because otherwise it was a remainder
Stranded.
parcel that was non-conforming, and we couldn't approve a non-conforming parcel over there.
So it'd be incorporated and as open space?
Yes. So right now, so the fence originally was just gonna follow this line, the wall. So what it'll do now is it'll follow this property line, and it'll come up to this point about here. Dastrip Auto has a auto shop, repair shop right here. He had some concerns about people possibly, jumping the curb. His building's about 8 to 9 feet or so from the curb, back of curb to his building. So he was concerned about cars running into his building. He's got a gas meter right there. And so the wall will be brought up along the backside of the curb. And then there's a drive approach right here into his property, so that they'll put some bollards or something like that to protect that gas line on the outside of the building. And to keep our clear view, so as people look out onto the street, they can be safe.
Is Dastrip Auto in favor of that fence and bollards essentially to take care of their concerns?
He's in favor of protecting that. Now, he wanted to buy 45 feet and have the road moved out to the north, so he could have some additional display area, but that didn't come to fruition.
So I'm not sure if I understand that. He accepts the fence?
Yes. I'm not sure if he likes it, because he would have rather bought some property for more display area, but they couldn't come to an agreement on price.
Also, Mike, it's been a very long time since I've looked at this in any detail, but that triangular piece we were talking about, I know this can be part of the development. Is that dedicated landscaped area, or is that just a piece that it would be incumbent upon Mr. Souther to keep it manicured and clean or whatever?
Why don't you come up here?
Okay, I don't want to overstep. So that was, it kind of caught us all by surprise. So I think it was a citizen who came up and said, hey, this triangular piece will be non-conforming, and we all kind of went, oh, you're right. So the planning commission required it to go into the subdivision. Right now, as Michael said, it would just become additional green space. I've toyed with the idea in my mind, so I'm not making any commitments, and we'd have to work it out with them. It might be nice to make it RV storage. Not that they would have RVs, but, side-by-sides or communities like this sometimes will provide a little extra parking for a boat or whatever if they have toys like that. It would have to be fenced, I'm sure, and things like that. So I don't know if that works, but I just thought we could maybe also turn it into another amenity.
There's been a number of community members who have contacted the city, and there's letters that have been submitted that are concerned they would like to see more parking, just because when people have guests, it could.
And we're already
surpass.
overparked, as Michael said. We're providing more parking spaces than are required. So we could do that, but if I was gonna do that, I think I'd rather make it like boat storage or things like that would take up parking stalls unnecessarily. So we can review different options, but it is going to be part of the community.
Great, thank you.
Never enough parking, and sometimes people feel in these developments, for sure.
Can I
Yeah.
second that? Is that a motion?
On parking, is there anything that is done to make people, encourage them, I don't know what the right word is, to not park in the street?
That's a good question. I don't remember if we were required to red stripe some of them or not.
I mean, right now.
I mean, there's no room like on that second road. It's all driveways. So you couldn't park in the street. Do you know what I mean? The only place that could happen is probably against Lindon Nursery right there, where there's sidewalk. But literally every other place, you'd be blocking a driveway, and so that wouldn't be possible.
You hope.
Yeah, true, you know, you never know. But those would be things that the homeowners association would have to help manage.
Any other questions, parking or?
I do, if we're on that topic then. My question was, and concern is, if we're counting garages as parking spaces, will the homeowners association assure that the garages are maintained so that they will hold?
They're not storage units.
Correct, and that, by then displacing a place for a car to park. So if you're counting on that, then you need to count on the homeowners association and policing that.
Which is part of the reason we're overparked, so that, you know, there is a little bit of fungibility there. And that's why I think turning that other section into something that might be storage parking could be a good idea. I don't know, we're just toying with what might make the most sense right now.
Okay, because I will say that any one of us who have driven in those, or lived in one, it's always parking that is not ample enough. And it's always the developer that always shies away from giving us.
But I'm pretty sure our parking ordinance is more, I don't know how to say it more strict, but requires more parking, and then we're giving more parking than is required already. So I don't know that that's a fair comparison.
Just counting the garage space as a parking, and then, yes, I wish our numbers were even more abundant, so I'm just going to make sure that's said vocally. Thank you.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about setbacks real quick. So wherever this development touches a single-family home lot, existing single-family home lot, or a residential zoning, they all have 30-foot rear yards. So we did that on purpose to match what's required for R1 residential. And so all of these perimeter lots have 30-foot rear yards. They all have trees in the backyard. The interior lots, those will be 8 to 10 foot rear yards, and that's allowed under our ordinance when there's common open space provided in the development.
That's fenced.
So the developer went ahead and already installed fencing within the development. Here's the existing fencing that's been installed. So this top fencing's been installed around the barn building to the north. This is a 7-foot wall. This 7-foot wall has been already pre-installed as a separation between the townhomes and the single-family homes. The Planning Commission in their site plan approval required that a 6-foot decorative fence be placed along the east side of this 350 West as a buffer between the Lindon Nursery and the townhomes as well. So,
Michael, can I ask a question on that? Sorry. At what point does it end on the south? I think it goes to kind of the bend there, but how far down is it supposed to come? I don't know if that was clarified.
In this area?
Sorry. Yeah. Is it like where the private road starts, or where the front of the other buildings facing north start? I don't know that that was clarified.
I don't know if that was clarified. I think you and I can work that out.
Okay.
If that's fine.
That was just one of the questions we had after. Yeah. Thanks.
One of the questions that was brought up in a couple community members was now the road accessing. I think originally the ideal would have been for it to be on the north, but UDOT.
Of the Red Barn.
Of the Red Barn,
yes.
but UDOT didn't allow that.
Correct.
So now it's bisecting the Red Barn from the nursery.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the concerns that was brought up, and I was going to ask staff, the road, does it eliminate some of the parking stalls that the commercial needed?
Yeah, I don't think it does. If I go to Google Maps here.
Someone mentioned, the Red Barn should have 60 stalls for their events, and so
Yeah,
forth.
and I reached out to Mr. Souther today. He's gonna provide me a plan to show these striped parking stalls, but that road should come right through here, and turn. And so these stalls shouldn't be affected, but, we'll check that, plan. And then that second access is through using, the south access is using this drive approach, so that won't affect the stalls. So the only ones that may affect is maybe something right here. But we'll check that out as,
Currently, when there are events, people are parking to the north as well, somewhat, where it will be
yes, yeah,
part of, but also just in front of the lawn there.
You mean on State Street?
No, in front of the barn. Some of that
right here.
lawn, so the second lawn, the interior lawn there, you were just on it,
oh,
Mike.
right.
There are often cars parked there during business hours when it's peak nursery, spring sales, or events at the barn, and that may, anyway.
The road doesn't go in front where that grass is. But Michael this afternoon sent us, hey, can you stripe this?
Ed,
And, yeah.
Have a
that-
plan.
Right,
Yeah.
for Ed.
So right now, I counted all these stalls today. I think they've got 74 parking stalls for the Lindon Nursery. And so we'll make sure that number is still hit when the plan comes through.
And what about the barn? Is there a separate designation for that in case that was pieced off as a separate owner or entity?
So I don't have any plans that show, you know, we have a city code that says this how much parking is required, but I don't, as far as I know, I don't have any plans that show this is how many parking stalls the city's required in the past. I'll continue to research that, but I don't know what the parking arrangement was previously.
And perhaps, I know some places have symbiotic,
Like
one's an
shared parking
evening
agreements.
use, one's a day use, who knows, but those are things to discuss, certainly.
And we'll show it, but that's on the Platts and Lindon Nursery, making sure that it works. And so we're happy to design it engineering-wise, but I think that's
Coordinate.
an issue he may need to come in and address if necessary.
Okay, real quick, let me go to back to the staff report. There'll be 4 light posts. There'll be one basically on each corner for the development. So they'll have the 4 city light posts. They're required to have some signage here as an entry. They're looking at doing something similar to the monument sign like at Walker Farms on Center Street. Each unit will be required to have, or will have individual containers. They'll have space in front of their home, in front of that little landscaped area to put their container there. Anything else on the site before I leave that and just go through architecture real quick? Okay, so these are the renderings that are being proposed. There's some different examples. Some units have a wainscot on them, some don't. They're all required to have at least 2 different colors. So they've got the white and the natural wood look with the timbers and the garage doors. The garage doors are required to all have windows. They're required to have a 60% material requirement on the primary facade. These exceed that with the hardy board on the front. Even with the rock wainscot, I'll go through a couple different renderings here. Some have some have hardy board in a different direction in the gable. You can see there's some stucco on the side which meets our ordinance. The windows all have a 4-inch window treatment or trim. They do need to upgrade their windows, and the Planning Commission made that a condition that the developer work with staff on that. You can see this has a rock wainscot. And there's some other ones. This let's see. This one's got a brick wainscot. You can see that, and then kind of the different patterns as well on the townhomes. The primary feature is supposed to be that entryway, and it's supposed to be identified. That helps with that timber look. They're supposed to have two different styles of homes, and so they've got, these are the sixplexes. They'll have one fourplex as well. You can see the kind of that gooseneck lighting that goes with that farmhouse style design with the development. And this map shows, so that, you know, the different homes are varied, so they're not exactly the same home next to each other. So they vary. They've got the three different styles. They'll be differentiated through the development. We've provided the subdivision plat for you this evening for your review. The city has reviewed that. We've got a few technical issues on that we're working out with the city engineering department. But this is what's before you tonight is the plat for the 58 units. So with that, we'd be glad to answer any questions.
Council, any questions?
I just have a question about the trash. You said that the trash, there's an area, are you talking about along the sidewalk for the cans? Is that what your reference?
In the street, they'll go on the street.
Right, but with everything Smith or South.
It'll be all of the time?
No.
No.
Okay.
Individual cans that they can pull into their garage.
Just pickup day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll go in, they'll have room in that
Clarify.
little landscaped area right there in front of
Just
the
on
home.
pickup day?
Yeah. One thing I wanted to ask you real quick too, or sorry, just make sure you were aware of, they have the 25-foot front setback. And then on some of the homes, they still have the 25-foot setback, but we're running the sidewalk along one side of the street, the 4-foot sidewalk. So while this will be so the setback's still 25 feet, the actual driveway depth is 20 feet. So the developer provided a sidewalk design that went behind all of the homes as more of a trail design. As we looked at this with our engineering department, we'd rather have that sidewalk out front. And so the way we've tried to accomplish that is this, again, you'll still meet the 25-foot setback, but you'll have a 4-foot public easement for the sidewalk along that side of the street. So one side will have they'll all have the 25, but sidewalk will be on one side. So one side will have 25-foot driveways, the other will have 20.
Will it be likewise on 350 West?
On 350 West, the sidewalk is on the east side of the street, and so that you'll have the 25-foot driveways along that front.
And the interior road, just to clarify, will not have any side parking just because of the driveways. There won't be any
That's
clear way
correct.
for them to.
We'll probably need to
park.
sign that as a reminder, but
I'm not even sure there's enough curb to paint red with all the driveways, but.
so we did provide you, I failed to add one of the conditions of the planning commission. So in your staff report, I had just had 1 through 6. I failed to add number 6. It says the Lindon nursery plat will be amended to be consistent with the subdivision plat. There were some lot lines that were recently adjusted that should have been done as a subdivision amendment instead of a boundary line or deed. And so those need to be corrected. They'll probably have to put in one more plat together and come back to planning commission and get that amended and adjusted appropriately. So
Could you please share what the planned amenities are in the open spaces with us? I'm sure you've discussed that a lot in Planning Commission.
Yeah, we have. So you've got a pickleball court up in the northwest corner. Michael can show it there. You've got a tot lot down in between those two buildings, and then there's a half-court basketball over there on that side. So those are the exterior amenities.
What is that circular designation there to the west of the?
Detention pond,
Detention,
yeah.
okay.
And same with kind of the top northeast, where the monument sign will be, yeah.
And that's the existing pond that's there, or
No,
you're
no,
going to
no.
relocate that?
Exact. Well, the existing pond will go away. It will
Right.
cap the well. And that's roughly where the tot lot is, I'm
Okay.
thinking, or where that building is. It's somewhere right in there.
Thank you.
Well, Jeff, I personally want to thank you for your patience and for being willing to go through the process, although it hasn't been easy, and to strive very hard to meet what the planning commission and the council has wanted. So thank you. I know it's been frustrating along the way, but
For everybody, but no, worth it, and especially for the Platts, so thank you.
beautiful.
I'm excited for them that what this has allowed them to be able to do and kind of the position that they're able to get into, so I think it works for everybody. I don't know that anybody got everything they wanted, but
That's
that
the
probably means
process.
it was a good deal, because
Yeah.
like you said, that's what the process is like.
thank you, though. We appreciate your.
So the HOA will deal with any noise concerns with the pickleball court, right?
Yeah, well, and we're not putting lights intentionally at the
I
pickleball court.
just want to make
I
sure.
know. But we talked about that and intentionally decided we were not gonna put lights at the pickleball court. So that after dark, you know, I don't know, maybe they bring their own flashlights or something.
They will be creative.
Yes, they will.
They'll have the work lights, you know, flashing on it, but yeah, we'll try to keep that down.
Oh, I think it'll be a lovely development, and
Yeah.
it'll be quality, so.
The architecture, some of you know where my father lives on Locust and 600 North. That remodel of Fred Lee's old house, that's the design that we're looking at. So hopefully that, you know, the pictures are nice, but that's a real example of kind of what that will look like.
Just as an aside, more interesting than relevant, have you had any interest expressed in people locating there?
Yeah, we've got an interest list of probably 30, I think. Okay, so, and because of what's going on in the market, we're probably gonna build 3 buildings at a time, but only release pricing when we have our costs locked down for those 3 buildings. We don't wanna have any of the, and I get it, but you know, people who buy and then the prices went up because it took so long to get it started, and all of a sudden, you know, homeowners are like, wait a second, I thought we contracted at this. So we're gonna do everything we can to avoid that and just sell them as we have our costs locked down on them.
That's great.
So,
Anything else, council? We ready to do something?
I don't have any other questions.
Your turn, council, if you want to make a motion to. Mike, should I look to you?
I just need the.
Can you bring it up?
The verbiage, I can't bring it up for some reason.
Right there.
Oh, excuse me. Big
Is there
screen.
anything that needs to be mentioned in the motion regarding the fencing on the south? You talked about there was a couple issues to work out with staff.
Yeah, I mean, if you want some input on that, I'd be glad to accept that. Let me pull up the site plan once more. So originally, Mr. Southard wanted to put a wrought iron here. The planning commission wanted to be consistent with how they've been deciding on site plan approvals. So they wanted to see the wall in. There's gonna need to be, you know, to keep this clear view here, it's going to need to be, you know, probably picket or wrought iron in that area. But, so this is where on the backside of the sidewalk where the wall would go in, the private street starts here in this area. So, you know, do we want it to go to where the private street is, or should it, you know, how much further should it go? If you want input on that, if not, Mr. Southard and I can work that out.
Do you think you can make that decision, Mike?
Yeah.
I mean, in the best interest of the adjoining landowners, I mean.
Yeah, if not, we'll take it back to planning commission and just as a real quick follow-up.
It's done right,
Yeah.
so.
I guess here would be, I mean, going to where the private street starts, to me, seems like a good breaking point, and you're blocking those neighbors who face east. But I know that Ed wants to fence as far as he can toward State Street. And we talked about, well, maybe that should be wrought. I like wrought iron because it feels more open, less compoundy. But he said, well, you know, I may have cold frames there, and so it may end up going further anyways, obviously, depending on what he thinks he wants to store there. I wish the front part, because now it's trees and things that he's growing, and that would be nice if it were open, but obviously that could change in 10 years or 20 years or 5 years. So I would propose that where the private road starts would make sense, but, you know, would love your thoughts.
That would be somewhere about right in this area, I think.
Yeah.
I know we do have a plan from the plats that they want to move 3 greenhouses over in this area to start storing lawnmowers that are out front, to store those in those greenhouses in this area. These piles have been moved over to the north side of the building, of the property.
If an agreement can't be reached on that road, and it talks about an additional easement, where's that easement gonna go?
It's just a section that would add to the existing
Yeah.
easement, and it would come from the trust property. They have total control over that, so that's just a condition that they make that easement wide enough to meet the public road dimensions. So that's not a problem.
So we go to the north of
It's
that?
that little green section is that additional easement we're talking about.
It makes it so that the right-of-way is wide enough for a road that meets the city standards and the sidewalk that needs to go out to State Street.
In looking at the conditions, that started to feel like it was an additional
Right.
space, and I wanted to see where that was, if that was the case.
So you also mentioned there were 30 interested people ready to reside there, just by word of mouth, I'm sure.
Yes, but, you know, an interest list, it could be 3 who follow through, because I think they were interested back when we thought they'd be in the 300s, and costs and prices have changed, so we'll see. But we're excited that there are people who've expressed interest.
Right.
I think in the effort to have more clarity, I mean, are you comfortable with the list of conditions up there?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just gonna ask you if you wanted me to mention each one of those, or you want me to just?
Can we just
by
refer to as the list that's listed?
Corporation.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm all right with that. Are we ready?
I just had a couple of questions. Are you open to public comment or?
It's not a public comment time, but go ahead and ask your questions.
Oh, no, I was just wondering if you were going to have it so I could ask those questions.
Ask them. Go ahead.
I know that there's a hollow water ditch that runs right through that area. Will it be rerouted or piped past the fence so that it can still be, the head gate and all that can still be accessed in that area?
Do you want me to address that? Yes, the engineering requires that it will be piped so that it still functions and there's no.
Still past, okay.
Exactly.
Area so I can still get to it.
Yeah, and it will run under that weird corner piece that we were just talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and then I also wanted to ask, I know he's mentioning that eventually they will put, send the information if the parking, the property that's left for the barn and the nursery, if the parking is still gonna be adequate or not. What if it isn't after this has been approved? Will that be addressed? Or will it just be that there's not gonna be enough parking for those 2 places for the future? Where you can't see that they have enough parking at the moment.
I think Michael can address, but where our road goes, we're not really eliminating any parking that currently exists. So happy to stripe it out, but I don't see that we're taking any parking away, because where we're building is where there has been no parking, if that makes sense.
There is a few there in those areas. I mean, when you go up there to an event, they are parking, like it had been mentioned, down that area right there where it looks like the road, when we were showing the road would come through. They're not necessarily maybe marked at the moment at parking, but they do park there.
People park everywhere.
Well, that's just it, because there's not enough parking to start with, so that's my next question. If between all of this, there is not, I know that he's mentioning that we're overparked, but when you have personal driveway space and garages, they're not always enough parking, there never is enough parking generally. So
So when is spilling out from there and the two businesses, where does it go and how is that addressed later? Just because we're experiencing it in a couple other areas in that area, other businesses, how is it addressed and if it becomes a real problem after the fact?
I think that'd be a city issue at that time.
Yeah.
So how do we address
We're
that?
gonna have to work with them on some enforcement and provide, making sure they're providing enough parking or limiting their events so they have sufficient.
Is there any reason why we couldn't have that be part of what's stated in the motion, that you were gonna research parking requirements and have those kind of worked out and spelled out on the commercial entity side as part of the road and how that all flows together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be better that, you know, that, like, they have 74 stalls right now for the Lindon Nursery. So it'd be better, you know, maybe it's a condition that, you know, they don't lose any parking for the Lindon Nursery. I don't know for the barn, for the reception center. I don't know how we ever determined that, or how, you know, if they just started doing receptions there. I don't know how that ever came about, but I'm happy to research it and, you know, let Mr. Platt know he's gotta have so many stalls for that reception center.
I know the Platts have mentioned right now the small engine repair has a lot of inventory in the frontage that
Blocks
if they can
parking.
move that, it's a little unsightly, and if they can move it to the back, that frees up some more parking spaces as well.
It does.
But I don't know what the timeline is for that to happen.
But I'm not
I guess.
sure I'm comfortable incorporating something into this motion that has to do with plats.
Well, it's just, I think to her point, the road is now and coming through that parcel when it hasn't before. So I think it's wise to just make sure all the bases are covered and future, you know,
Additional,
cause and effect.
Version overlaid on this
Complex as well, so, you know,
Take me a few minutes
and
to find.
additionally to that,
with each other.
'Cause
to
it
that
shows
point.
right where that road goes.
So additionally to that point on that last view that you were showing, Michael, that the overflow parking or the additional guest parking for the complex could easily be filled by people at the reception center, and vice versa, but people coming into the development, if the reception participants are parking there, it really impacts the residents. And so signage, of course, would be important, but that's going to impact each other. And I worry more about the ones that are in the development than I do that the residents are at the event center.
The wall that we put in starts at the front corner of the red barn. So there's a 6, is that one 7 feet too? Okay. Is it 6? I think for them it didn't have to be 7. Can I go point? Is that okay? I don't have a pointer here.
Pointers don't work anymore on TVs.
So Mike, to the point of parking, if that reception center is the problem of additional parking, then they would have to deal with that. Or, I mean, I assume the city could basically require them to provide additional parking spaces to the extent that would accommodate however many people that come in there. And if they can't, then they wouldn't be able to, I mean, is it a conditional use or is it a permitted use?
I'm not sure well, the reception center, I believe, is a conditional use.
Yeah,
But I don't know if they ever got a conditional use. I don't know on that.
but it should be. I mean, there should be some requirements. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Jeff.
Part of Randy's question was, would people attending the barn park here and then try to go over? But we've got a solid wall that pretty much blocks, I mean, you could do it and walk all the way around.
They'll do it.
But it's intentionally been made difficult to have, you know, Ed's worried about our people who live here gonna park over here and get there. Well, they have to go all the way out to Straight Street, walk and come around to kind of get there with the way he's gonna fence it and it's gonna be fenced. So I think that will help some between the residents and the commercial, if that makes sense.
I think, Mayor, that's the point I was trying to make. Unless I'm just misunderstanding it, I think it is up to Platts to make sure that they do have sufficient parking and sufficient circulation and everything. And I think that, my personal feelings, that needs to be dealt with separately. And just like you said, if they don't have sufficient when the smoke clears, then you have to cut back on their events, or they have to provide more parking. And that's just my thoughts.
But it is a little difficult to react to it after it's become a problem versus maybe having some forward thinking and planning to mitigate
I would be
that.
glad to reach out to Mr. Platt now and have that discussion in preparation for this development. And
I think they're kind of restricted. I mean, how many more additional parking stalls can they create?
Well, with moving the lawnmowers, that's probably another.
And that's about it. I mean, what else can they do? I mean, so they're gonna be restricted on the number of people that can actually go and be in that reception area based upon available parking.
Well, what about
I think he
State
could
Street
create
frontage?
parking north of the Red Barn though, and he really hasn't had much there
Yeah.
to speak of. So he does have room to be able to add parking for that commercial use.
and he did add another barn over here. He moved a barn from the back, put it right here. He did move those bulk bins to the north side there, so he has taken up some of that space as well. And
I would
so-
send a letter putting him on notice that if he's planning to use that as a reception area, he needs to make sure he works for the city and has sufficient parking.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, I like that idea.
And any extra parking you can provide is always a good thing.
Use transit, go there by bus, you know, whatever.
Spoken like a true board member.
But I think it's important that he knows that that's gonna be a potential issue, and he knows it up front, and so he can think that through, because the last thing the council and any of us wanna see happen is excessive parking, and it blends into the other neighborhoods, and then all of a sudden you've got the issue that you don't wanna have, so.
Are we ready?
It's up to you.
Are we ready, council? Everybody okay?
I'm ready.
Jeff's ready.
Okay, I move to approve the applicant's request for a major subdivision approval for the property located at 531 North State Street with the following conditions incorporated by reference, as they're listed on the staff report.
I think instead of the staff report, maybe the ones I have up on the screen and provided to you today.
Refer to the screen.
Okay, refer to the screen.
1 through 7.
Don't change the screen.
That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at 1 through
Okay.
7, your email that you sent earlier. Okay, incorporated on the screen and on my screen,
And would it be appropriate to
1 through 7.
request a letter to be sent to the Platts? Or is that that's make it official record, if you would include that, just so.
Certainly, I'd be
Yeah.
glad to. Also with the condition that a letter be sent to the Platts exhorting them that it's possible that they may have to provide additional stalls, or if there isn't sufficient parking, they may have to cut back on their activities.
Feel good, council? You ready to?
Come on, guys, the election's over.
No, it's okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion by Mike, a second by Carolyn. Is there any further discussion? I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I think you understand what we're talking about here, right? So be,
For the last year and a half.
Be
I
mindful.
totally understand.
we just want you to be happy, we want everyone else to be happy, so let's get her done, so. Okay, item number 9 is review and action on the canvass of the certification of the 2021 general election results.
Kathy, you gonna run us through this?
Canvas documents that were sent from the county this afternoon. And you just need to review them. Certify, there's only one provision
see on the statistics sheet that the numbers were all good and very few unaccounted, that weren't counted, very few. So basically, it's just the provisional ballot you need to look at anyway, and there was one that was counted.
So we hit almost 45%.
Which, when I looked up all of the other cities today, I was calculating this and just confirming based on the stats that they gave for all the precincts. The only higher city on turnout was Alpine. They had about 49%. So it was the second highest turnout of all the cities in Utah County.
Did you notice what Lindon or Vineyard was?
Offhand, I couldn't tell you.
It was, I mean, yeah, it was considerably lower, so. Well, good.
Just as a quick question, why is the municipal election not held on a presidential or the congressional?
I don't know the answer to that. I'm assuming that's a state law. Yeah, because
The
it's,
legislative history on that is there was a time years and years ago when they were held together, and there was a debate about separating the issues out, letting people focus on national issues and letting people focus on local issues, and that's why they split them apart.
There is a summary report broken out by precinct that you can reference to for your use.
So, Kathy, do you have any information on how they handled some of these different ballots? Were they able to resolve any of these ones that that the signatures did not match? I know that they have a process that they go through down at the counties.
They contact the voter,
They reach out to them
they reach out to them.
to verify, yeah.
So I'm just saying that there's 15 that were, signatures did not match. Did those just get disqualified or what?
That's just when they signed it, it didn't match with the signature they had on.
And so when it doesn't match, they reach out to those voters to verify, is this your signature or is it not?
Correct. So I'm asking is that, were those disqualified or were those resolved? And that was the, and
Oh.
15 as one, that is that counting as unresolved or?
these are highlighted as not counted, so I'm assuming those were unresolved.
Okay,
37 unresolved. It says it not counted.
okay, thank you.
It's kind of sad they return it without signing.
I think you
And
forget, I almost
then the
forgot.
postmark, just not getting it in time probably.
And there is a motion there, just printed for whoever wants to make the motion and second it. You do have to do this by motion, certify the election.
Is it on the last page?
It's just, it's just a teeny little.
Oh, right here.
one thing on the page.
Oh, okay. Are we ready? Anybody need
I
to
think
count
so,
more?
yeah.
I will move to certify the results of November 2nd, 2021, Lindon City Municipal Election, and to certify that Carolyn Lumberg as mayor and Jake Hoyt and Van Broderick as city council members for 4-year terms beginning January 3rd of 2022.
Have a motion by Randy, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mike, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes unanimously.
Just-
Congratulations.
Thank you, council, congratulations.
Absolutely.
The record then,
Thank you, lady.
the vacancy that will occur with Carolyn's election will not technically occur until January 3rd. And so at that point, then we would advertise
Applicants.
the vacancy by state code has to be 2 weeks minimum. And so we would likely not have all the applications in and processed before the staff report on that second meeting in January would occur. So the first meeting in February is what I would anticipate when we would hold that
The
council
interviews and
meeting to do all the interviews and appoint somebody. So,
And will you advertise that not until January, or you will be advertising that sooner?
I'm sorry, Randy. What?
Be advertising that not until January 3rd?
Correct. So that night, I'll hit send or post or something there, so, or the next morning. Brian has prepared an outline. We wanted to wait until the canvassing occurred, just a memo that outlines that whole process. We'll send that to you tomorrow. And just as a reminder of how that will work.
I'm
And
sorry, what works? The
How
filling
you-
the
the
how you
appointment
actually
process and-
Determine the next
Oh, yeah.
city council
Yeah.
member.
We are becoming experts of
We know how
that,
to do
and
this.
so, it's happened a lot, but,
Okay.
okay.
We ready to go on item number 10, review and action on the Timpanogos Academy Crossing Guard Agreement. Pretty straightforward.
So on this, the chief was approached by, I don't think he's principal, Mr. Porter, I don't know what his title is over at Timpanogos.
Headmaster.
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 Yeah.
Carol.
About a crossing guard, and in the past, this has come up several times. There's been some conflicts on how they wanted to get kids across Center Street and when they wanted to do it. There was conflicts with when they were letting out compared to Lindon Elementary. Apparently, some of those things are resolved. They are paying their own crossing guard now and actually utilizing the specific crosswalk that is there. In the past, they wanted to relocate it and do kind of their own thing that didn't meet state code. And so with this agreement that the chief and Mr. Porter worked out, this would be the city paying, we pay $12 an hour for up to 2 hours a day to our crossing guards. And this would be Timpanogos Academy invoicing the city after verification of the school year and how many days they worked.
And Mr. Porter, also, they do pay the crossing guard a little bit more, but they'll make up the difference to.
That's what
on
they've
their own.
indicated to
Yeah.
us. And so this would not be our employee, it would be their employee. And so they would accept the liability that comes with that. This is just simply basically a financial reimbursement agreement. The total on this, given the school days required per year, would be about $4,300 per year.
And it's good to mention, this is something that we provide
We
the other
provide a,
schools, so this is just leveling the playing field. so
yeah,
to speak.
crossing guard is required by the entity that maintains the transportation system. It is the way it's kind of phrased in the state code. And so, and that is only for elementary schools. It is not for junior high or high schools.
Question, since we will be funding a portion of this or the major portion of this, yet it is not an employee, how do we coordinate any need for interaction when training and some synergy between what's happening at our other elementary that's in proximity to Lindon Elementary? How do we maintain the, well, I don't want to say quality, because I know Errol, he's going to do a great job at the school, but to make sure that the value for our dollars is great for our citizens, and that it just some good synergy, that it's not backing up, and that we can communicate well without stepping on toes. How do we do that?
I'll defer to you, Chief, on that.
I can speak to that. So the way Lindon Elementary and Timpanogos Academy overlap, there's constant communication between the existing crossing guard with Lindon Elementary and theirs. They come in, just rotate after each other. So there's that constant communication and working environment. So I don't anticipate there be any. If there is, Mr. Porter's agreed to handle it on their end as well. So we'll have that open dialogue and communication to take care of any issues that come up.
Thank you.
Anything else on that?
Okay, sounds like it's a slam dunk. Review and action. We ready for action? Okay, Carolyn?
All right. I move to approve the Timpanogos Academy Crossing Guard Agreement as presented.
Second.
Motion by Carolyn, a second by Van, all in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Many of those go around, we spread them out.
2022 public meeting schedule, review and action.
A couple things, I just need your input on this. February 23rd is unique. This is a Wednesday evening. This would be our budget kickoff meeting that we've traditionally done here. The Tuesday night falls on a holiday, or the Monday night falls on a holiday, and so we'd be looking to just move that one to Wednesday. And then There's a little tweak with the planning commission on November 15th and 29th, where they're on a Tuesday night, on the 3rd and 5th weeks instead of the 2nd and 4th weeks. The other one, yes, we do not know the party caucus dates yet, aren't confirmed to us, at least for the Republican
Yeah,
caucus.
the Republican ones, they just announced that. I was at the county, you were there, at Van, and I think they said it was March 8th.
March 8th? Okay.
Because I know
would
that
work.
I had tickets to Hale Center that night, I'm like, and they said, and they did say that was confirmed at that meeting at Springfield
Okay,
Junior
well, I
High.
think we're good
I'd have to
then.
look back. I
They
don't
are
remember the date.
typically on a Tuesday.
Yeah, and,
I think
yeah,
so.
but they, yeah, because I had to look at my tickets, yep, and it was, I gotta change that ticket, so.
Monday nights, everybody still okay? Moving forward? It actually works really well for a lot of our staff because they have other assignments or duties or family things, activities on other weeknights, and this works out great, so I hope that's still good.
Unintended consequence, right?
That's
It all
right,
worked
good
out.
things.
Positive consequence, that's good.
Okay, you ready to approve? I mean, do we need to make changes?
Oh, sorry, Mike just brought to my attention, so March 8th is actually on the planning commission. Let's strike that one then, or do you want a different night?
Probably should do another night. So that would be-
You want to do Monday on the, well, that's when we're meeting is the 7th.
Excuse me.
Wednesday the 9th,
yeah, Wednesday,
Thursday. Or do you just want to schedule a special meeting if needed?
yeah, let's just schedule a special meeting if needed.
Okay, so if we could, as part of your motion, to strike March 8th from the planning commission meeting, and we'll figure out if we need to do a special one.
Okay, someone ready to strike March 8th and go forward with the,
I'll make a motion. I will move to approve the 2022 Lindon City Public Meeting Schedule, with the exception of taking March 8th off the Planning Commission schedule as presented.
Second.
motion by Randy, second by Van. Any further discussion? I think we've got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes.
Van?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Gave it to him this time.
All in
He was on
favor?
his phone.
No
He
battle.
didn't make any motion.
When we,
Arm wrestle for it.
Adam,
So-
when we turn the Facebook
He
feed
would-
off, I just gotta share something with you guys.
Okay, hang on here just.
So I have a letter from Kim Bonnet that he would like each of you to read,
Let's put that-
and it's an apology.
It's all right.
But it also still clearly wants us to be aware that we need to be sensitive to the metering and how that